You back up to where we're going to discuss all of this now with Lukhona Mnguni joining us this morning. Just before I speak to Lukhona, a reminder that's the Freedom Front Plus national picture for them out of the National Results Operations Centre, currently sitting at 2.72% of the national vote. As we zoom into Gauteng and particularly Tshwane, which we just heard is going to be one of their focus points, it is the Freedom Front Plus in Tshwane, with 4.37% for the Freedom Front Plus. Lukhona Mnguni, morning to you. We're all checking our devices and phones for updates. It hasn't moved 58%. I feel like I want to go check the...
We were promised 90%
We were promised
by
90%.
midnight.
I felt like I wanted to go and check the internet connection outside the IEC building to see if it was plugged in. It was plugged in. It's working.
Yeah.
There's just no numbers coming through. What's happening?
No numbers coming through, Gareth. But, I mean, we've seen this in previous elections where the trickling in of the numbers gets halted. I don't think we get to hear properly what is it that, would have been holding back. But the IEC, I'm sure, will tell us at some point, is it because when they are capturing, there are a few disputes happening somewhere else? We also know that political parties insisted on party agents being able to monitor the capturing process away from the voting stations this time around.
This is going to be the issue as well. We keep hammering on at the IEC, saying, well, the results are taking too long. We want to get to the end of the results. We might get to 99%, won't we, Lukhona? But there's going to be political parties that are going to protest. They're going to be upset about something, which is going to delay the process as well. This isn't just down to the IEC giving us a nice 100% on that screen, is it?
No, absolutely. The integrity of those results must not be questionable. The credibility behind the process, must have ticked all the checks and balances that are available to it. So I am certain that the IEC is trying to make sure that whatever we see on that screen is not something that they would have to recall.
That's it. You don't want that either.
Because that would really make us raise serious questions in terms of the accountability mechanisms that are there in the value chain of declaring these results for us.
I love that, the value chain of declaration of results. I'm going to write that down. I want to talk about the integrity, the absenteeism and the apathy. There's a lot to talk to you about.
Absolutely.
I've ordered us some coffee. Before we talk about that, though, Masego speaking to the Freedom Front Plus on the floor, just here behind us, one of the only political parties that are here this time of the morning. Let's talk coalitions. One of the comments made by the Freedom Front Plus is, yes, they're doing well. Tshwane, Freedom Front Plus, to remind you, 4.37%. Coalitions are on the table, but FF Plus say not with the ANC. It seems there's almost a growth towards a breakup with the ANC, not even in coalitions where the ANC could be in government, could be controlling. If they get into coalitions, are people willing to do it?
Gareth, I mean, it's an interesting story what's going on with the Freedom Front Plus. One of those few political parties in our landscape who are able to see a little bit of, a decline, increase in support, but now quite a steady increase since the 2016 local government elections to the national elections in 2019 for the Freedom Front Plus. They are growing in their areas, and I think they're trying to differentiate themselves away from the Democratic Alliance. They are quite aware that the Democratic Alliance has changed its political rhetoric, its tailoring of its message to try and, recapture what they call, the traditional support base where the Freedom Front Plus believes it is strongest at. So now, when they say no to coalitions with the ANC, they know that the Democratic Alliance is flirting with the possibility of coalitions with the ANC. And in fact, the rumor mill is that a request for a meeting has been sent to the House by the Democratic Alliance to say, hey, let's talk. Are you available to chat?
But right now, that's been blue ticked. We don't know if there's been a response.
And it seems as if the president of the ANC is quite the master at the blue ticking game. So we know that is there.
I love the way you brought this up, because I want to talk about DA, Western Cape.
Absolutely.
We hope that you stay with us here, because we're going to move around the country. There's so many dynamics to talk about. So the Democratic Alliance, here's where we stand at the moment, South Africa, 22.25% for the DA in the Western Cape. But I want to draw your attention back to 2016, Mr. Mnguni, because as I look at that in the elections in 2016, 26.90. Now, I'm only a journalist, but I can do basic maths. That's a decrease of 4%.
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at the CSIR projections, currently the DA is projected to decline in the Western Cape anywhere about 7 to 9%. And this is, of course, with the emergence of a new party that is contesting, such as Good Party, for example.
Doing very well in George.
Absolutely giving them a run of their money. We already have about 12 hung councils in the Western Cape or so. So it's going to be a story of coalitions once more there. We are probably going to see more hung councils in the Western Cape than we did in the 2016. And that's partly because of the decline of the DA, decline of the ANC in a number of areas, which then means there is an emergence of your Good Party, Patriotic Alliance, seemingly doing well in some small pockets, picking up some seats and so on. So Gareth, we are in for a long week this week, but next week, as the coalition talks continue, it's going to be very difficult. And I think political parties will want to seemingly get to where they can create a global agreement that would affect as many of the hung municipalities as possible.
All right, we've got the last 60 seconds or so, because you and I can sit here and talk all day. We can't. The integrity of the IEC thus far. Final question to you. If this was a matric exam, Lukhona Mnguni, what would you be marking the IEC on integrity? Last question.
I'll be marking them on their ability to communicate as honestly and as openly as possible. What I've been hearing in some of the press briefings, I'm listening to a bit of PR, I'm listening to a bit of spin, and they're not giving us specific figures that we need in order for us to then make a determination whether, these processes that they say were isolated incidents of glitches here and there. We need to have the facts and figures behind those glitches so that we can then say, do they have a substantial effect? For example, in a municipality such as eThekwini, which we now know is going to be hung, those glitches might have serious effects for certain political parties.
And obviously we know the IEC is watching this, so let's assume this was a prelim. We'll get all the answers later as a prelim mark for the IEC. Distinction or no distinction?
No distinction, but a pass.
By the way, PR that Lukhona is referring to is not proportional representation.
Oh yes.
In this case, we mean public relations.
Public relations, absolutely.
All right, that's what's happening at the National Results Operations Centre. I would like to say, Tumelo, the board behind us is ticking over. It's accelerating. Numbers are changing every second. It's not. It hasn't moved in about 2 hours. Hopefully, someone finds the internet connection cable and updates it for you. And we're going to come back to you again a little bit later with hopefully more than 58%.
Because it's not just the political parties waiting in bated breath for those results. Gareth, South Africans at large who've cast their vote are waiting to see, of course, how the results are turning out. So we'll be sure to come back to you, of course, as more developments occur.